to producing music. And, from there, it was kind of around the same time that I started building that Facebook group centered around, LGBTQ community artists, and met a bunch of really great artists in that. One of them, Mallory Pacific, became a really close friend of mine. And just kind of in that whole process, we started working on, writing a few things together. And then I asked her if I could make a Pride remix of her song Emotional. And so that was kind of my first venture into the world of remixing. And then I just realized that I absolutely loved it. And so when Mallory released the original Never Not Mix You this year, I asked her if I could do a remix of it, and she said yes. And, she released an entire EP full of remixes from me, from Ash Taylor, and a few other artists as well who took part in that whole project. And so it was a really fun project to work on. When I had worked on this, I was listening to a lot of Terror Jr., and that's where a lot of the vocal chops came from. And so probably one of the favorite songs that I've worked on to this day. Just kind of being able to take that creative freedom, take a vocal stem, chop it into a bunch of pieces, and put it all back together was a really fun project.
Those chops sounded really good. What did you do to them?
I literally just cut them up, repitched them, and kind of dragged them in my timeline until they fit.
A bunch of reverb and call it a day. So
pretty much, yeah. A lot of formant shifting.
Right.
Adding a lot of sauce, like the whole thing where you saturate a vocal beyond recognition and then throw it into 100% wet verb. Just kind of give that feel. It's saucy.
Yeah, very saucy. Yeah, also the vocal effects was nice and saucy, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, it was a really fun project to work on. Yeah, there've been a few more that I've done. Those aren't released yet, so I can't exactly share them with you, but really, really looking forward to next year when a lot of these start coming out.
Yeah. What genre would you say this remix is? Just for an EDM layman like myself,
I would call
it's not quite house, it's not quite, future bass. I don't know.
Yeah, I would call this dark pop.
Dark
or
pop.
Like dark EDM.
Nice.
It's a really strange genre because any artist or producer who doesn't exactly know what genre they work in, automatically tend to call themselves dark pop artists or dark pop producers, which is not always the case.
It's like I'm into indie music, right? Like, what is indie music?
Yeah, so it's basically just, for me, dark pop it's like a hybrid between pop and EDM, but it focuses a lot on like bit crushing and saturating elements. I would say
it's kind of like lusher, darker synths and the pads and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's moodier.
Yeah.
It's not shiny. It's all about like mood and attitude. So
love it. Well, this track sounds really great. Like, I mean, just in terms of like, production in general, what are some of your like favorite creative tools? Do you have any like specific tools that you find you're using on the regular, or VSTs that that find, just inspire creativity in you?
Yeah. Ben, I'm going to be honest. I use a lot of stock Ableton plugs. Like I subscribe to the Slate Everything bundle, or All Access Pass, I think it's what it's called now.
Yeah.
I've got the like Isotope subscription, a bunch of stuff from Plugin Alliance, and my go-to plugin is still the stock saturator in Ableton. So, stock saturator, a Redux plugin that just kind of bit crushes and downsamples things, Valhalla Vintage Verb, that's literally on everything.
The best.
Ableton stock delays. I would say the only thing that I really use that isn't very stock is reverbs. Occasionally I'll throw on some Sound Toys type stuff, like I have an Echo Boy send, and then a little Alter Boy occasionally. On almost everything I use, I turn Autotune all the way up to get that kind of like crunchy vocal effect. But all of my formant shifting, repitching, time stretching, that is all done just natively within Ableton.
It's amazing that Ableton could do that so well. I don't think Logic could do formant shifting that well. I mean, I'll use Melodyne usually, or Little Alter Boy or something, Yeah,
Melodyne is great. Melodyne, whenever I pull it up, I always get sucked into a black hole, and I look up after, what I think is 5 minutes, and I've been tuning a vocal for 5 hours.
Yeah. Melodyne's a deep, dark, scary hole. It's infinite possibilities.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to hopefully send off some of my Melodyne work now. I'm trying to like delegate that because it's a dangerous box to open.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, amazing. Well, yeah, it sounds great. Are you mixing inside of Ableton?
I made the conscious decision to
You're sending it to Moshe.
Yeah, I don't do any of my own mixes just because I really enjoy having another creator involved in the process. And while that means, I don't always, take home as much money from a production, like it's also not the way that I'm really making my income. And so, yeah, I usually enjoy sending a track off to a mix engineer to finish off, because when it comes to the last 10% of a song, if I created the other 90%, I kind of just lose track of where I am. And if I were to finish it off, like I could do it, but it just doesn't come out as nice.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that's something that I'm working on is like, if I delegate, let's say tuning, hopefully I'll finish a production faster, because if I'm doing like every single element from A to Z, it kind of drags on and you kind of like lose momentum and you lose motivation. It's like, oh, now I got to tune that vocal. And then like 2 weeks pass and you're still not, working on that massive production you're trying to work on.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like having people on board not only helps the creativity be better, but it also helps it move faster and more efficiently,
Yeah, that's also why I really like remixing, because the top line's already there. The vocal's already there. Like I don't have to make a track, send it to an artist for approval, make revisions, send it back, wait up to 4 months for a final vocal take, come back to the project now that I've moved on to a different style and, try to, rewind a little bit back to that style when I initially made the track, finish it off, do more revisions. Now with this, it's like the top line's already done. Send me your wet stem or your dry stem, whatever you have access to. I'm going to, do whatever I do to it. I'll send you a version. If you don't like it, cool. I can make like small revisions, but if you just don't like what I did, that's great. You can have your vocal stem back. I'll repurpose the track for something else.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a secret. Not a secret. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's like I think it's just so important to kind of like do things while the iron is hot. You know what I mean? Like while you're motivated, while you're inspired, just do that burst of creativity and make that track and then move on your merry way. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting here, but like, when you sit on things too long, it just becomes stale and then you don't even want to work on it. And
yeah, it's like leaving a potato in your fridge for too long. Either you cook with it or it turns into something that is obviously not a potato.
Love that. Great analogy, man. Yeah, totally.
I guess also like the last thing to add on top of the remixing stuff, it's a really cool way to position stuff that I'm doing. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I don't have to worry about poaching clients. I don't really take on any original work. There are a few artists where if they want me to do an original, I will tell them very specifically, hey, I make one genre of music. If you don't want your music to sound like Charlie XCX, got dropped into a hole, like I'm not going to be the right producer for you, right? Like I specifically do remixes, which is, I don't know. It's just I enjoy this specific world, but also like if you've never remixed a track before, I guess I'm talking to to a producer who's listening right now. It is a really great way to position yourself because, like we talked earlier, you can only be so creative, and that applies to artists. And artists can only write so many good songs within a specific period of time without burning themselves out. And so, what happens when you can't write another top line, but you need to release another song in order to keep your momentum going, right? Alternate versions. Spotify, the way like the Spotify algorithm works right now, which, by the time this podcast is out or, like someone listening a month from now, it could have changed. But Spotify, like, especially with like editorial placements and like playlist curators, they like to know that you have stuff coming up. It's not always about like how high quality your content is. It's about knowing that they're going to get consistent high quality content because it just looks better. And so it's really hard to consistently just push out great top lines with great tracks to go under them. And original production is really expensive. And so sometimes like it just helps like to keep your momentum going. It might not be, the next headlining song that you have, on your dream tour. But it's something to put out to your audience to keep people interested, right? And
that's super cool.
The fact that like media moves so fast these days. Like Ben, are you on TikTok?
So I have a account on TikTok, and I go into TikTok maybe once a month or something.
Okay.
I have too many there's just too many social medias at this point. I just can't keep up with it. There's too many platforms.
Yeah, so anyone who's on TikTok will know exactly how fast, I guess, Gen Z culture moves. Like within the last month, there have been so many different phases of just content on TikTok that like have just gone, like came and gone. And it's insane how quickly people forget about what was trending a few days ago and move on to the next new thing. And so staying relevant as an artist or as a creator is a lot harder to do now than it used to be because there are so many things for people to get distracted with. And so kind of one of the positions that I take as a remix producer is, hey, let me help you extend your momentum while you're waiting for your next song to be done.
Wow, I love that. That's such a great way of thinking about what remixing is, how you could pitch it to artists, how you could also help grow your portfolio. You know, like I recently spoke with Carl Bonner, who, you know, he got his foot in the door by doing remixes for bigger bands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that's amazing. Like I feel like it's an area for me to explore a bit more, and maybe also for the audience to kind of think about maybe putting their toes in the water a little bit and seeing if it feels good. You know? Yeah,
you can also get away with a lot more in a remix. Like
right, you could get. I mean, from what I understand, like you could just do whatever you want. Like it's just taking the song, the actual like, you know, writing of the song, and just popping your arrangement, your production, whatever you think is good, and just going to town on it. I need to do more of this. You're inspiring me.
Yeah, do it. That'd be great.
Yeah, I've done a couple. It's fun.
Uh-huh.
It's I'm not. I don't know if I'm good at it yet. It's like I don't know. I'm so used to like building a song up with an artist and like. You know, going from scratch. And also, like, I think my electronic music production skills are not at the same level as, like, let's say my rock or pop or folk, you know, skills are at. But
yeah, but also, like, going the opposite way, you could take an EDM artist's song and create a rock version of it or create a folk acoustic version
totally.
of it.
Yeah. Anything could be a remix, I guess.
It's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Sick. Love it. You know, so we'll move on to some of the questions that I ask almost every guest on the show. You know, talking about energy levels and stuff like that. You know, we all have days where we're pumped to get to work and do our thing, and there are days where we're just totally burnt out. I know you talked about taking a sabbatical, taking hiatus. But do you do anything on the day-to-day, I guess now that you're back in it, that helps keep you inspired, keeps you stable, keeps you doing your thing? Maybe it's a routine, or maybe it's, you know, meditation or something like that.
Yeah. Routine and I have a very strange relationship. I love routine, but I don't like doing one routine for too long. So examples of previous routines that I've had have been waking up and going for an hour-long walk, coming home, you know, eating a little snack, starting work, or, you know, waking up, you know, going to a morning yoga class, coming back home, you know, again, eating a little snack, going to work, sleeping in and then going to work. That is an example of routine that people don't often think about. You know, like my morning routine could just be sleeping in until 11 and then being super productive in the afternoon. Recently, it has been waking up, drinking cold brew, sitting on the couch, just kind of staring into empty space, stretching a little bit, and getting into work. Maybe like coupled with like just some general body movement. I've been doing a lot of yoga classes in the morning, just because like since my schedule's pretty remote, I have that luxury of being able to choose when I work, and so I have that ability to remain active and make sure that my body is moving. And that's been the one thing that has been helping me stay productive and stay energized. Just making sure that I'm moving, making sure that I do take time to focus on things that are not at all music related.
Yeah, I love it, man. You gotta stretch your body, and I totally dig that. Like different routines last for different amounts of time. I, you know, as like a dad, like I don't even have a choice. Like I can't sleep in, and I'm thinking about like, can I set up a schedule where I'm actually waking up before him, and he's not just like my alarm clock. You know, so for me, it would have to be a much more, I don't know, but you know, routines are, you know, they fluctuate, but you know, but it would have to be like a very like, you know, intention thing, you know, to do something like that. Yeah, you know. This is a question that I ask everybody on the podcast, and you know, looking back on your journey, you know, from where you started to where you are today, was there something you would tell your earlier self, like, hey, Enoch, keep at that. It's gonna get you where you need to go. Or like, hey, maybe it's the other way around. Enoch, don't do that. You're holding yourself back. What would be that one piece of advice that you would tell your earlier self?
Yeah, I would definitely tell myself, be your genuine self. Like, be who you